I wrote this book because I noticed on the market that there are a lot of books about marriage, but a lot of the books don't really talk about the practical or day-to-day things that it takes to be an intentional wife. So I wanted to write something that was quick, something that a woman or a wife could put in her bag and have at any moment. I wanted to make sure that it focused on those items like prayer and sex and managing your emotions and things like that. So that's what I wanted to do, give more practical examples of what not to do and how to do it and be successful. The concept of prayer is not something that people often talk about. And if they do, I know there's books in marriage about marriage, but they talk about prayer and things of that nature, but they really don't get into the mechanics of it. What I used to do is I would go into my prayer closet and I'm just crying like, Lord, just change him. I just can't stand it. I can't take it. And then I never even acknowledged God. I never thanked him. I never honored him and appreciated him for the things that he had done. All I did was focus on what my husband was doing wrong. And I say in the book to pray for your husband, not about him. And that's what I was doing. I was praying about him, all the stuff he was doing wrong, all the things he was saying wrong. And that's not the order of prayer. That's not the purpose of prayer. The purpose of prayer is to make sure that you're connecting with God first. And how would you feel if we had a conversation and I'm just talking, and then all of a sudden I just get up and walk away? You're like, wow, can I respond to you? Well, that's what we do to God in prayer. We don't give him an opportunity to respond. So I've learned how, and I want to teach other women how to make sure when you're having a conversation with God that you wait for him to respond. I had a sugar addiction, and I didn't realize how sugar impacted my emotions. So if I hadn't had anything to eat in the morning, if I've taken, if it was too long before I've had breakfast, or if I've had too much sugar, my emotions would go up and down, up and down. And I didn't realize how much health was the key to handling or managing my emotions. I had to learn how to make sure that, if I'm going to have sugar, I have to keep it to a minimum. I had to learn how, I no longer drink sodas or anything like that, because all of those things, people think that's not true, but it really is. What you eat impacts your emotions. I wasn't taking care of myself, and there's no way that you can give your husband something that you don't have. And I did not have the emotional stability because of my food choices, because of how often I was eating. I wasn't eating enough, and then when I did eat, I would overeat. So making sure that your health is intact, making sure that you exercise as often as you can. It's, I'm on the journey as well, so I don't want to make it seem like I've arrived, because I haven't. But from an emotional standpoint, your health and your emotions go hand in hand. So that's why we talk about health. The premise of peace and trust as it relates to being an intentional wife is ultimately that's what we all want, is peace. Ultimately, we all want to get to that end result of, I just want to be happy. When people say, I just want to be happy, it's really peace that they want to achieve. And I talk about those elements and how to achieve that, and how basically the bottom line is the only way that you can achieve real peace is not through how much sex you have with your husband, how much you cook for him, but really, no matter what happens, that you have that peace that only God can give you. And that's what we talk about as far as peace is concerned. Regarding trust, however, that's a huge issue with married women, that, I often hear women say, I just don't trust him. I just don't trust him. But the wonderful thing is, God never required for us to trust our husbands. He requires for us to trust him. He requires for us to put all of our trust and faith in him. And what we do when we get married, we think we replace our husbands, we replace God with our husbands, and that's not the order of God. The order of God is to make sure that God comes first and then your husband. And then when you understand that aspect, the trust factor won't be a part of your entire life. It won't be something that consumes you. Because yes, you can be excited. That's where the whole intentional part comes from. For example, if I want to throw a birthday party, I'm not going to go to the party looking weird and dressing weird and just being standoffish. I'm going to make sure everybody's having a good time. I'm going to go around shaking hands, making sure, it's going to be a fun time for everyone. It's the same thing with your marriage. You have to be intentional. Ask him, how are you doing? Do you need anything? Can I help you with anything? That's what it's about. It's not, the excitement part is something that has to be natural. You can't fake it. So being intentional is not being fake. Being intentional is about treating your husband the way you would want him to treat you, even if he's not treating you that way. That's what intentional is, another way of saying submissive, because that's really what it is. You're really submitting, not necessarily or just solely to your husband, but you're submitting to the will of God. He's teaching you how to minister to your husband, how to take care of him, how to do those things that he would want you to do. And but being excited, even if you've been married 20, 30, 40, 50 years, it's a choice. Being excited about your marriage is a choice. You can't watch enough videos. You can't watch enough movies. You can't read enough steamy novels. You can't do, that's not what it's about. It's about making a choice to be excited about your marriage. And either you want to do it or you don't.
Chapter 7 would definitely be my favorite chapter, because husbands and wives don't really realize how important sexual intimacy is. Particularly for men, that's something that is very, very important to us.
Actually, sex is becoming a dying institution in marriage. Just not being funny, it really is, because people are so busy. Husband and wives are so busy with children and work and just all of these other things, and they literally do not make time in their schedule for sex. And we don't understand how that is the most incredible part of being married. That's the closest you can ever be to an individual. So it breaks my heart how many women tell me that they withhold sex from their husband because he made me mad or he's been a bad boy. Really? I don't think that's funny at all, because I think when we put our husbands in the doghouse or we kick them out of the bedroom, Donald Bell is not going on the couch. He's like, look, you can be mad, but I'm going to be mad in the bed. I'm not sleeping on the couch. But I think the thing with sex is that we have to remember, when you withhold sex from your husband, you're blocking your blessings. You're blocking. People try to figure out why isn't my career taking off? Why am I not happy? Well, you got to ask yourself, am I being stingy? Am I being do I have unforgiveness that I'm operating in, and that's why I don't want to be intimate, or I should say to have sex with my husband? I have a phrase, and I say that sex is what you have with your clothes off, but intimacy is what you do with your clothes on. And people don't understand the difference between intimacy and sex and things like that. So it's really, this book really helps you understand the difference and understand your role as a wife. Not role as in you have to do a bunch of role playing and dressing up and doing a whole bunch of crazy stuff. You can do that if that's your thing, but it's really about the intentionality of it. My husband wanted me to initiate more and things of that nature. So it's really just making wives comfortable with being the initiator and really enjoying their sexual experience with their husbands.